everyone, welcome to the July 2017 comic book pool party. I am Captain Logan.
And I am Sydpart2, aka...
There he is. There's Sydpart2. Unfortunately, Lo wasn't able to make it with us again tonight. This was the only night Ian and I both had free in this next week, and Lo had company in town and wasn't able to make it. So, unfortunately, hopefully, we'll see her next time, finally. It's been a while since we have gotten to talk to Lo about comics. But Ian and I are here, and we're going to chat about our favorite comics from each week of last month, as we do here on the Comic Book Pool Party, which, Ian, you'll be happy to know we've managed to keep going for like 5 months now.
Yeah, it really helps the whole monthly thing as opposed to weekly.
Isn't that amazing that we've kept it going that long? I mean, I know it's only 5 episodes, but we've kept it going that long.
I know. Well, like, I really want to hit 12 unbroken. There's been a lot of times where I'm like, I don't know if I can make that date work, and Cap's like, we can just scrap the whole month. I'm like, no, we're going to make this.
It's like, that's not going to happen, Cap. Yeah, and that compels me, you know, that inspires me. That makes me go, well, even if Ian can't make, I better make sure to do the show just so that Ian's got his 12 unbroken months.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know, I'm pretty flexible. I think I can usually make it.
Yeah. Last time we did it on a Wednesday. You had to do 2 shows in a row.
Oh yeah, and it worked out fairly well. No, but like, speaking of like long-running things, I realized that I've been doing comic reviews like weekly for over 2 years at this point.
Oh wow!
I've missed a little bit here and there, like 1 week or 2 every so often, but I got kind of excited about that. I was like, wow, I've been doing this for a while. I'm good at this.
Well, congrats, man. That's awesome. Yeah, I had a long set there where I was doing that too, but then too many things now. Trying to do more vaults of full-on stories, which for folks that haven't been watching the show, that's mostly the reason that we're doing this monthly now. And we've been putting out a vault at least once a week lately, but I need to get to some more recent things. And some stuff lately has ended, so I don't know, lots of things to get to. But anyway, let's go ahead and start talking about last month's new comics, Ian. We begin, as always, with our birthday card, and this is a comic that we really liked from last month, but not enough to put it over the top for one of the weeks. And we begin with Ian. Ian, what is your card for last week, sir? Or last month, excuse me.
It was Super Sons number 6. This book continues to just be a lot of fun. I didn't pick this for that week just because I had a couple better books, but this has just been a really solid series. Tomasi fundamentally gets, in a way that I've only ever seen in South Park, how to write children, or at least child thinking. South Park's obviously a very vulgar show, but their episodes is just, yes, that is exactly how kids think. And this has a lot of that. This like, particularly the way that Damien and John are written against each other is just really, really solid for me, and I adore it. Particularly their dynamic. Damien's just kind of like a really bad friend, and John's like the new kid that doesn't know anybody. So like he's really the new kid in school, like the new kid in this version of the DC universe. So it's a lot of fun to see them playing off of each other, and seeing Damien, who's like, I'm a teenager, I'm too big to hang out with little kids like you. You're only 10. I'm 13. Like, I love that. He's just kind of a bad friend, and so there's opportunity for character growth that doesn't inherently regress Damien to, is he unstable? And I really, really enjoyed that about it. It's just been a fun book so far. Pretty decent plot twist at the end. But I'm just more excited about the way that Tomasi's writing these characters, and how he's throwing them up against each other, and just seems to get things. That, and the art is also really good. Like, some of these panels and page spreads are really great. I love this panel of them jumping down from a building, and that's just a really fun thing. That's a poster. Also, the title of this arc is Planet of the Capes, and just, yes, I support this decision.
Yeah, I got to get back to that book at some point. I dropped it for no other reason than I've got too much on my pull list right now, but not because I didn't like the first arc. It was wonderful. So yeah, I'll have to make sure and get those in back issues at some point.
Yeah, I mean, there's just like a lot of fun stuff, like Damien and John changing an old lady's tire. That's just cute. That's just that's the kind of thing I could just read all day. It's a lot of fun. What was your card, Cap?
My card for last month is Star Wars number 33. I have not been reading this lately. I've been collecting it and stacking it up, and I'm really behind on it. And this month I just had it in my stack, and I was already reading like 25 single issues in one day. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to check in with Star Wars and see where it's at right now. I haven't read the last probably 14, 15 issues. And so I went ahead and just, you know what? Whatever. I'm going to catch up at some point, but I'm going to start reading now. And I read this issue, and I don't mean this as a criticism. It was kind of like I hadn't left. Like there wasn't anything that I didn't like know what I was reading looking at this. And this is a really good kind of one and done issue anyway. But for folks that are looking for, I mean, I don't know if this is a good jumping on point because I don't know where it's going right after this. But like if people haven't been reading this and you're wondering, you know, has so much happened that I can't check back in with it. I don't know. It's still in between the movies, and it's about the status quo you would expect. It's pretty easy to, I mean, it just seems like with Star Wars, we're kind of now just going on a lot of different adventures, which is what I would want from this book anyway. So yeah, this was really easy to just pick up and read. But this is a really nice kind of just intimate downtime issue for Luke and Leia really getting to know each other. And I think Aaron does a wonderful job in this of comparing and contrasting these characters and giving us people who come from totally different worlds, how similar they still are. And I get the sense that some of that is because they're siblings and they don't know it. And it also kind of creates a reason that they would that maybe down the road they would think to get together and want to date, and of course that can't happen because they're siblings. But it's really nice to have the kind of chemistry that they have, not realizing that. And the thing that kind of pulls them together more than anything is that in various ways both of them are homeless, and they you know Luke feels like Tatooine was never really his home, and he left and he doesn't have any reason to go back, and he used to run away from home all the time anyway. He never thought it was home. And obviously Leia's home blew up, and at the same time as they both don't have homes, fleeing those places or not being able to go back to those places has kind of helped them to find who they really are and who they want to be, and it's kind of helped them to just in general find themselves and find this life of adventure. And I think that's the other thing that they have so much in common, is that both of them really like this adventurous lifestyle. And they're both starting to kind of I mean, Leia's always confident, but she's starting to be confident and weirdly happy fighting for the rebellion and having lost everyone she used to care about. And then you know, as we're exploring that idea, we have a really fun kind of one and done adventure where they go to this planet that they think is deserted, and it's mostly a water planet, but it turns out that there's this whole civilization under the water, and they feel bad because they've kind of brought the empire to this planet, so they have to help these people against some you know, imperial agents and stuff. And like I said, surprising that having not read this book in months and months, I felt right at home again.
Yeah, I've been reading the Star Wars books, the Star Wars main title and trade, because like I remember I picked up an issue of it when it was fairly early on, and I just didn't get into it. But then I read the trade, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is fun. There's like an issue of consequence or just anything of substance happening though that I've noticed. But I hear Aaron's leaving the book and Gillen's coming on to write the main Star Wars title now. So
wow, that will be a really interesting shift, because obviously Gillen's Vader was great, and I'd love to see what he brings to that.
Yeah, or you know, we could just give him Vader back. That would be
nice as well. Yeah, that'd be good. He could just write them both and have a lot of you know, crossover between them, like he and Aaron did early on. The other thing I should mention about this is that it remains as beautiful and cinematic as it was at the beginning. I would think that at some point that would kind of start to fall off, but the reverence for that material and trying to make it feel like you're looking at Star Wars movies every month, that was the thing that really appealed to me at the beginning. And it's really cool seeing, I mean, I don't know what it looks like in between, but it's really cool just coming back to it, that it feels like it did right at the very beginning. So there's a nice bit of consistency with that.
It's funny you mentioned that. I was talking about the newest issue of Darth Vader, and I did like a whole 5-minute discussion on how the way they're drawing the lightsabers is consistent with something that you have to do because of Star Wars being on film originally. So just something kind of neat there. But yeah, it's the scope, the look of the books has always been really good, I'll say.
Yeah. Let's jump now into our gifts for the month of July and talk about our favorite books gifted to us by the comics industry last month. Ian, what was your favorite comic book from July the 5th?
Batman number 26.
That was mine as well, so I guess we could just jump right into that.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, I'm in love with this entire run so far. You know,
Right.
As soon as Tom King started writing, I'm like, wow, this is really good. I can't wait to see him write someone like the Joker. And then to have this like really fresh take on the Joker that's not just, maniacal laughing madman, but psychopath who now can't smile. So he's like, the Joker is searching for his own identity in the story. And then the way in which Joker and Riddler are paralleled, it's really interesting since those characters have often been just considered, I've heard people say that Riddler is just a ripoff of the Joker and there's no point to the character. And so to see those two juxtaposed against each other in the light of Batman is really interesting. And normally I don't like, the whole let's go back to the beginning kind of stories, but here it works a lot better for me. And it's, I don't know, I'm enjoying this. There's a lot of references. There's some really interesting stuff because this was kind of built like it was going to be another version of War Games, but it's so much more personal than that. It's not about the grandiose epicness of it all. It's just like this really human story so far, and this issue is just really good at showing that. It's all about kind of the machinations and the people behind the carnage as opposed to the carnage itself. You see like the start and the end result of a lot of the carnage, but you don't see it happening. There aren't just pages of fights or anything like that, and I really enjoy that about it.
Yeah, so far, I mean, I would argue that it's probably going to get a lot larger in scope, and that King wants to really ground it at the beginning like this to make it definitively still a Batman story and about Batman. I think the best thing about this issue is just, and I didn't know what he was doing right away until it kept happening, and then you got to the end, just Batman standing around cataloging bodies. That got me. I love that choice. I think it's really interesting that already King is going back like Snyder did to early days of Batman, and this is like a year into Bruce Wayne being Batman, and obviously not too long after 0 Year. And if 0 Year was actually a year, then arguably it's probably been, a year since that. And it's interesting that he chose to do another Riddler thing going back in time, and I'm wondering what his reasons for that are going to be, and if that will become apparent as we go along, and if he's going to do some parallels to, or at least references to 0 Year.
See, I question whether 0 Year is even in continuity with this, because there are references to Year One specifically and not to 0 Year in this. So
yeah, so far, but he's already referenced 0 Year in the run.
I don't recall that then.
Yeah, he did. He's got this weird list at one place, which I've kind of made fun of a little bit, and I forget where exactly it is, but it's after the first arc, but it's somewhere in the second or third, where maybe it's in that first arc, I forget, but there's a bit where
where he talks like 0 Year Bloom, something like that.
Yeah, they're running down just the Snyder arcs and acting almost as if that's all that matters so far.
Yeah,
and
well, it's just weird because you cannot possibly have 0 Year and Year One be in the same continuity. There's no way you can wrap your head around that.
Yeah, clearly. But I will be really surprised if he doesn't have some kind of reference to 0 Year. And he's playing with arguably the same Riddler characterization-wise. We're in this real golden age for the Riddler right now. It's really cool. We've gone from Riddler as a laughingstock, both in and out of the comics. Maybe not even out of. I mean, like, I think a lot of people like the Riddler, but they don't know why. I know I've always had that. Like, I love the Riddler, but I can't. I could never.
Good question. Favorite Riddler story?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's always the hard part. And I don't land on one right off, because I want to get farther away from some of the recent ones before I have that. There's a couple of fun one and done things in the Riddler Arkham trade that came out a couple years ago that goes all the way back and has a smattering of Riddler stories all the way through it. But it's been a while since I've looked at that.
I'd suggest a story arc that you can only find in issue. It's called Riddle Me That from Legends of the Dark Knight. I want to say it's like 183 to 187. It's like 4 or 5 issues, something like that. Really worth your time. But yeah, it is a Riddler renaissance. I really like that term because I didn't like Snyder's run on Batman at all. Even I thought Zero Year had a really good Riddler. And this, to see him brought back and really to be put on the level of he's just as big a threat to Batman as the Joker by having them go to war and just having them tear Gotham City apart in the process is, I think, a really brilliant move.
Yeah, and I've said this before. I think we have the Arkham games to some degree to thank for finally having a Riddler people really latch onto and want to write, because he's gotten really sadistic in the comics in a similar way as he is in those games. And I never would have expected a really sadistic Riddler to work, and now that's the version I like the most.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. It's you know, when people were throwing around ideas for what could the next Batman movie be after Dark Knight, I remember a lot of people were saying just do Riddler and have him be like Jigsaw from the Saw movies. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of a thing that works for the character.
Yeah, and that's kind of what he's been.
Yeah, and like that's not really what's going on here. It's just more of these like really elaborate situations. Like I love this conversation he has with Ivy, and like I love that he's having conversations through riddles. Miss Isley, can I ask you a question? Nothing personal, just something to satisfy my own curiosity. Yes? I was thinking, if April showers bring May flowers, well, then what do May flowers bring? And Ivy has this whole thing about, oh, well, a lot of flowers bloom in May. He goes, no, you see, pilgrims, my dear. May flowers bring pilgrims. And there's some kind of context to that, like what that means in terms of what the whole situation for the war going on is. I can't quite wrap my head around yet, but I've got a couple ideas. The wheels are spinning in my head, and I just really like that, how he's using the riddles as a door, and also, really importantly, these aren't obvious riddles. These aren't when is a door not a door kind of riddles. They're like, I've never heard what do May flowers bring as a riddle before. And I think it works incredibly well here. It feels very fresh. It doesn't feel like Tom King just Googled riddles, you know?
Yeah, and it seems like he's talking, and this has always been the problem with a lot of Riddler riddles, where no one could possibly come up with them because you just have to be in that person's head, and they're more a matter of, it's not a matter of picking up on what the like right intellectual there's only one answer is, but it's just more of a matter of I'm really clever, figure out the way in which I am clever. Mm-hmm. And what I really like about this arc so far is that, and getting into the third part of this, is that he seems to be dealing with the kind of inherent flaws in both the Riddler and the Joker's like machinations in the way they do things, where like Riddler's riddles are, as I'm saying, like not always even solvable, but you just have to be in his head. And it's that way with the Joker too, with his jokes, where you have to be the Joker to find him funny, much of the time. And I also like, and I don't know if he's doing this on purpose, but it feels like King is intentionally kind of tackling the problem that we've had with the Joker with a lot of things, including Snyder, over the last several years, which is the Joker's not funny anymore. And like when I'm reading Batman stories, I'm not laughing at the Joker anymore the way I want to. And he's scary, but he's not fun anymore. And I love seeing the Joker, and this early in his career where he's already kind of lost his mojo and he's not finding any funny, and he's turning into that Joker on the page. I love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really important. I always say that the best written Joker is when he makes you laugh at something and then immediately makes you feel bad for laughing.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and that's why the Dark Knight Joker works so well. Where you exactly. like we in the theater we should not be laughing at the pencil trick, but we all did, and that's why he's great.
Exactly. And you know, Killing Joke has a lot of that, where he's making puns about the girl he just paralyzed. Like that's horrible, but it is witty. It is just on a fundamental level clever, and that's what makes it scary. Joker's
and I also love just asking
character in that way.
I also just love asking the question of what's the difference between riddles and jokes, because there's a real fine line. And
oh, definitely. Cap, what is brown and sticky?
I don't know.
A stick.
I didn't know, but I just thought I would let you. I also felt the need to put this on my list that week, almost just for the Batman '89 homage, because I love it so much. But you have that page with the doctor guy that's like, let's see how we did. Oh, look what I have to work with here. And he does the whole scene.
Yeah, that was cool, and it was neat to do that with Riddler as opposed to Joker to invert it again. People in the live comments are bringing up that there's a lot of references to Riddler and Joker's first appearance here. Like particularly just in the way Joker's been dressed in this run so far, where he's wearing like the tux with the bow tie.
Right.
That's right out of Joker's first appearance in Batman #1, and it's really cool to see stuff like that. I just want to talk about the art for a second, because my only problem with this book as far as the art goes, because I found it gorgeous, is this is the second time they've done this like 2-page spread followed by a 2-page spread thing in this book. Yeah. And part of me really wants them to start releasing it as posters, like as opposed to flip the page to get the other thing. I want to flip the page and fold them out. So it's just a really long sequence of one page.
That's a great idea. Cool. Yeah, do that Superman 75 thing.
Sure. I'll pretend I know what that is.
That's the death of issue, and at the end
gotcha.
the whole Lois holding him like folds out in 4 pages.
Gotcha. I've only read that once. Sorry. But yeah, just like they did this at the beginning of the run too, when Riddler walked into the office Joker was standing in, and it's like, Riddler walks in and he says knock knock, and then you turn the page and Joker's sitting at the desk and he says who's there, and it's like it's all one big room. So if you actually lay the art out, it all connects together like it's one gigantic page, but they just do a page break as opposed to a fold out, and I think it would look cooler as a fold out.
Well, and I like things like that. I mean, I've seen it go overboard. I didn't like it. I've talked about this before. I didn't like it in Superman Unchained, where it was like all folded up and you had to unfold it out all over the place. That was irritating. But when it's just fold out horizontal like that, that's really cool and gives you incentive to buy the singles as opposed to the trade, because they're not going to do that in trade. And in trade it would look like this. And so you kind of wish that I'm with you. You kind of wish that the single would like give you a little bit extra for buying the single.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I for years I had the poster that was, I think, the cover to Legion of Doom or Injustice League or something like that, story arc they did back in the mid-2000s of like all the DC Universe villains just in one big gang together. And like that was a really cool poster. I guarantee you we'll eventually get something of Joker and Riddler with all these Batman villains as a giant poster in front of a map of Gotham City. That will be really cool when it happens.
Yeah, that'd be good. With the double shipping with DC, I've been talking about this a lot. We're seeing a lot more full-page spreads, and that's somewhat understandable. It's nice when you get books like the way Batman's been lately, where you don't feel like you're missing any story, where you're only getting like 12 pages instead of 20. But I think there's a lot of stuff in Rebirth that's really poster-worthy. Because of that. There's just been so much more of it lately. So we'll move on now to July the 12th. And we both had the same book for our last week, and we won't this time, I'm sure. So go ahead and talk to us about your favorite book from July the 12th.
Wonder Woman, number 26. Start of a new arc with new writer, new artist on the team, new creative team involved.
Oh, cool.
And if anyone's looking for a time to jump on, this issue and the next issue are already out. Go grab them. This is a great jumping on point. It's not real, like it's not contradicting any of the Rucka stuff or anything like that, but it's not seeming to deal with that in any real way. It's just, okay, now we've got Wonder Woman back to a normal status quo. Let's tell Wonder Woman stories. And this just, it sets up a really interesting character arc for Wonder Woman, where she's trying to do too much good in the world, and it's having a measured effect on her on a PTSD level. And that's really, really fascinating to me.
Yeah.
And you realize that this is kind of a thing, this idea of carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders, is something that she's kind of been doing since she was a girl. We get this really, really heartbreaking flashback to Themyscira, where a lot of the Amazons are sitting around talking about the fact that young girl Diana should not have a doll because she's going to be a warrior. Warriors don't have dolls. And she overhears that one night, and it's just like one of the most heartbreaking pages I've ever seen, where she takes her doll, puts it in a box, locks the box, throws away the key, and then goes back to bed alone. And that's just sad. And it made me feel bad for her. And so the writer clearly has a character arc that they want to set up and want to deal with the fact that Wonder Woman is just, you know, throwing herself all around the world in all these horrible situations. Like, it starts out in a refugee camp in Greece with her protecting people from attackers and you know, going into fires to save people and stuff like that. And it's just, that's some hard stuff to experience for anybody. That's some hard things to see and to be around. And so I like the idea of exploring that, you know, the mental effects of that on a character. The art in this is done by one of the same artists that was working on DC Comics Bombshells. So I'm really glad to see more work from her. See if I can not butcher this name. All right. Mirka Ondafolo. I hope I did that right. So, you know, her stuff looks pretty solid. It's not like a realistic style of art. You could almost animate this, which I really, really like. It'd be great to see like a Wonder Woman animated series use character designs from this artist. But it's able to convey a lot of emotion because of the more minimalistic designs of the face. You just get a lot of the raw emotion, and it immediately connects with you, and that's really cool. And yeah, it's a really solid first issue of this new arc, new creative team, and it makes me excited for more. The second issue was pretty good too. One heck of a cliffhanger that I won't spoil for you guys. Says I want everybody to go pick up Wonder Woman. If you've ever had any interest in Wonder Woman, this seems like a good place to start.
Cool. I may do that finally, and try to get back onto that. My favorite issue from the July the 12th is a book that I never thought would show up on my side of the show, or yours. I doubt you're reading this book. I don't know. But because of things I collect, I had to buy this for the cover, and then I ended up really kind of liking it. This is Red Hood and the Outlaws, number 12. And this is the, oh, you know what's really funny? Because okay, indulge me for a second. When you're looking at the Google Hangout box and you're looking at yourself, it mirrors it. So this just looks like, on my end, when I'm looking at it, the Death of Superman symbol not backwards. And it's really distracting right now. Anyway, so this is the death of Bizarro, who I did not know was on the Red Hood and the Outlaws team. That's an interesting choice.
They set that up in Trinity, I think.
Oh, okay. I dropped that book a while back.
Yeah, it's like, that's the side of Trinity that's not interesting, so don't worry about it.
I thought this was kind of moving. So you've got I guess Bizarro has joined the Red Hood and the Outlaws team, and they're and he's become like a full-fledged member of the team, and they really care about him, and his heart is in a good place, and he's still, you know, dumb, lumbering Bizarro, but he's trying really hard to be Superman, like he often does. And I guess he's I don't know. I guess for the Outlaws, I haven't read anything before this. I guess for the Outlaws, he must have been contributing and being a helpful member. It kind of helps. What's fun about him being on the team is it kind of helps that they don't mind if people get killed. So he can probably be more effective than normal because they have a Superman that can kill people. And what's happening at the beginning of this is he is being a clone. Apparently, it's supposed to be like nigh impossible to clone Kryptonian tissue, and so he's like debilitating and degrading and falling apart really bad, and he's gonna die soon. But Solomon Grundy shows up and starts wreaking havoc, and the outlaws are in trouble. And so in the middle of he's like lying on his deathbed, he jumps up and tries to go save them from Solomon Grundy, and you have the Superman Doomsday fight with Bizarro and Solomon Grundy, and
cool.
The only reason Bizarro ends up losing, spoiler alert, is because he's falling apart, and he's unstable, his molecules. But it's really weird to see Jason Todd like so invested and caring this much about Bizarro of all people, and just within the context of this one issue, I kind of bought it hook, line, and sinker. I really liked this, and I will probably read the next issue just because of the setup at the end, with your standard obligatory somebody shows up at the end, but it's. Know if this is supposed to technically be like a couple issue story or what, but I'll probably at least buy the next issue. I don't intend to stay on this book for any length of time, but I actually really liked this. So I don't know. The main thing I'll tell you in a second. The main thing for me with this is I bought it because I collect things with Death of Superman things on them, and this wasn't a waste of my money in reading it. So that was really exciting, and a lot of why it ended up making topping my list that week. But anyway, it's Red Hood and Artemis.
Okay, that's the Trinity of Trinities thing that they're doing, because you got the good Trinity, which is Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. Then you got that Trinity, which is like the gray Trinity, and then you have Cersei, Lex Luthor, Ra's al Ghul as the Dark Trinity.
I didn't even know that was a thing. Okay.
Yeah, that's what's going on as like Manipal just seems to be doing whatever he feels like and setting up his own story arc. And then because he's writing and drawing it, they have other people writing and drawing like the secondary story arc that gets like basically updated whenever Manipal's not on the books. So you go like 2 months without reading anything from it. You're like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
So that side of things, I'm like passively interested in just to keep me going. Honestly, I would wait 2 months to get Manipal only issues, but whatever. It's just fine. It's not coming out on weeks where I wish it wouldn't. Like I'll have that where I got like 3 books 1 week and then 12 the next. I'm like, come on, really? I can't get this evened out a little bit better.
Yeah, I expected this to be a bigger team, and was surprised that there aren't very many people on this team. But yeah, I think my favorite bit in this is there's this really dramatic moment where Bizarro punches Solomon Grundy really hard. He says, "This am end of Cinnamon Gumby." And I kind of loved that. And then there's this bit. Sometimes I really enjoy these moments where jokes are funnier when you explain them. When that actually works, it always makes me laugh. And there's this bit where Solomon Grundy, because he's Solomon Grundy, just running around saying his name. He says, "Solomon Grundy!" And then Artemis just jumps in and kicks him in the face and says, "Artemis!" And then Red Hood's like, "I see what you did there." And I kind of loved that. And then there's this whole bit where Bizarro is doing the Solomon Grundy thing, and he's saying like what day he was born on, and it was great. I forget what exactly the whole thing is, but it was kind of funny. Anyway, it was cloned on Wednesday and kick butt on Friday. That's what it was.
That's funny. How's the art on that? Because I'm curious about like the look. Were there like references to the Death of Superman fight? Like, did they basically like trace over the panels for it, or did they recreate the fight?
No, they didn't. And I kind of appreciated that it was more subtle than that, I guess. I mean, it's not straight up homaging Death of Superman in any way other than it's Death of Bizarro and he's fighting a big monster guy. But on the other hand, I could have, now that you say that, I could have done with the last few pages being full page spreads. I could have done with that. That would have been all right. But his big death panel is this. Which isn't homaging Death of Superman, but is still like a nice full page spread, where it's kind of, if you're reading the book anyway, it's kind of as heart wrenching as it's gonna be. I like it.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, this art is Soy. Dexter Soy. I'm not familiar with him.
Gotcha.
But I liked it. I like the art. Ian, what was your favorite book for that week?
Oh, Batwoman number 5. This is entirely a flashback issue where throughout this run we've been hearing about this period in Kate Kane's life called the Lost Year, where she basically she didn't directly try to kill herself. She just acted horribly irresponsibly in a way that would almost certainly lead to her death, because that's basically what she wanted. And so, you know, as the universe would have it, though, it wasn't done with her yet. So she went out to sea on a really crummy boat alone, got washed up on shore on this island called Kroyana. And this is like what we see this period in her life was. And like, there's just this really interesting commentary on what Kate Kane is doing. She bashed her head on a rock, and so these people on this island had to fix her up, but they didn't, like, you know, give her stitches or patch over it or anything. They like did some kind of process where they actually put bandages and gold in the wound to seal it up. So she's got a golden Z just on her head, and there's also a fox here. So forgive me for thinking Zorro. But and they talk about the idea it's like to embrace the wound as opposed to hide it. And I'm like, that's really interesting in the context of this character who doesn't seem to like herself on any real level. So I really enjoyed that, and it's just we get this idea of how a relationship developed between Kate Kane and the woman that runs the island, and that's really fascinating because all these people that are doing very expressly illegal things don't like Kate Kane and don't like the fact that she's there. She represents like the outside world coming, and there's like this love triangle thing between a villain that was recently showing up in the present day stuff in the book, and so we see why she hates Kate Kane and just how their rivalry developed. It was all based on, you know, mutual love for a person, and it just gets to the idea that Kate Kane in this era of her life was really destructive because this woman that she was trying to pursue a relationship with didn't really want to get involved with her either, because she's like, you're too dangerous, you're not like centered on what you want out of life yet. But dramatic situation happens, ends up saving Kate Kane's life, and then we get this as they start to copulate on the beach. We get this great full-page spread at the end of one of the other friends of the lady that runs the island dying on that same beach because she was too busy devoting her attention to Kate Kane. And it's just really, it's this really interesting way to play these two things off of each other, and how Kate Kane is just at this point in her life a very toxic person who does not or who just kind of takes and chases one addiction after the other. And I really like that. It's incredibly fascinating. You know, it could just be like a really cliche story of like a lover's quarrel kind of thing, but the dialogue, the narration about why everybody is feeling the way they are, why they're acting the way they are, really heightens it above that, and kind of makes it, you know, a little bit Shakespearean in a way. And then there's some just gorgeous watercolor art of
oh wow,
yeah, like it just looks great. There's some really beautiful imagery in this, and I cannot get enough of it. It looks absolutely fantastic and haunting. And then the fact that you know, Kate is considered an outsider on this island, and you know, you got a bunch of multiracial people here. She's the only one with red hair, so she just like stands out like a target, and that's really fascinating. The way that the color palette's played with too.
Yeah, so I really like those panel layouts.
It's a gorgeous book, and it's a very deep book that gets incredibly fascinating. And again, anything that even on a superficial level feels like a reference to Zorro, I kind of dig. So yeah. And then we get this sequence, this 9-panel grid that references this future Kate Kane that's appears to be going back to destruction again. So we've gotten little pieces of that throughout the run, and I'm really curious to see where it goes. But just, man, some of these 2-page spreads, but like a lot is being done not necessarily plot wise, but definitely character wise, and I really appreciate that for it.
Wow, that's
and
great.
It looks great. Yeah. So continues to be a good book. Only 5 issues in. I don't even think the first, or maybe the first volume is coming out in trade soon. So maybe pick this up and get the first volume when that comes up, and you can get caught up relatively quickly.
That is a really distinct art style, Ian. I don't feel like I've ever seen exactly that before.
Yeah, it's got that what's the name of the artist here? Hans something. Is it at the end? Margaret Bennett always seems to have her credits at the end for a book. And I don't even know how much credit I should be giving to James Tynion IV, because this just feels like a Bennett book. I just feel like I know her writing style at this point. But it's Stephanie Hans is doing the art. Oh, she did the cover too, which is really cool. And it just looks great. It's up there with some of the art for like the Earth 1 titles, as far as I'm concerned. The Batman's Superman Earth 1 books.
Did you say that was co-written?
Yeah, it's co-written by Margaret Bennett and James Tynion IV still. They're credited as the writers. She's top billing.
Okay.
I've read Tynion's stuff, and this doesn't feel like him. I've read Bennett's
what you're
stuff.
describing doesn't sound like him either. Yeah, I mean, like I've read Tynion things that I like, okay, but I don't know that he'd pull off what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's one of those things like
on his own.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like I know he's writing the detective book, so I figure that she's basically writing this, and then they're co-plotting to set up like a villain for detective or something. That's what I got.
I'm probably to make sure that it's matching with detective, because she's so informed by that book right now.
Mm-hmm. So I really don't know. It's hard to tell exactly who's doing what. Comics writers, when they're sharing a book like that, tend to be really gracious, and they won't, unless there's a lot of heat behind the scenes, they won't like step on each other a lot for that. So
yeah. So we move on now to the second half of the show. We're going to go on to July the 19th. And actually, you just did your book. How does this make sense? Did I start for the 12th? No. Is that what I did?
You did. The last one you talked about was Red Hood and the Outlaws.
Oh, are we just already on the 19th?
Yeah.
Is that the deal? Okay, excuse me. All right, so I will talk about my wow. We're really ahead of ourselves today. Ian. Wow. This is brief for us today. My third book is going to be Astonishing X-Men #1, and yeah, that's Soul Signature there. I guess he. I guess he decided that for the X-Men signatures, he was going to put a bunch of X's inside of an X. I guess he thought that was cool. But yeah, we saw Charles Soule last week when Dan was here. He was signing at my comic shop, and we all went out there and got some books signed, and I got some Daredevil signed by him as well. And he was really nice. I asked him some questions, we chatted for a bit. And anyway, this is interesting because I had to read it twice. I wasn't sure how I felt about this on first read, and reading it on a second time in preparation for this, trying to decide what I was going to pick from that week. This ended up climbing to the top. I'll start with my criticism and the thing that kind of turned me off to it, and that made it where I needed a second read. But obviously, I mean, I did really like this book. But I will begin with my main criticism, which is simply I didn't care that it opens with like several 2 or 3 page bits of here's a pair of X-Men and what is interesting about putting them together as a pair, because it's done in caption boxes, and he's kind of just spelling out things for me that I would love to get within the action. So he's like, here's what's interesting about putting Old Man Logan and Rogue together, and like one of them never changes and the other one changes all the time, and I'm like, I kind of wish you didn't come out and spell that out, and that turned me off immediately. But on a second read, I ended up looking past that and then liking the actual story I was reading, which is basically Psylocke is calling out to a bunch of X-Men through her psychic ability, because the world is in peril because the what's his name? I just have so many things swimming in my head right now. Shadow what's his name? The Shadow King. Shadow King is back, and he's working on an ethereal plane of existence, and they have to figure out how to get there, or he's going to destroy the world. And I really like the sense of urgency with this book because it's like right now. We don't do this a lot. We'll stop everything to have like pages and pages of conversation when there's something really earth-shattering like this that happens. And I really like that Psylocke, with all these characters she's pulled together, Psylocke is really quick to be like, we don't even have time for this conversation. Like, we need to just go. And it has a really nice sense of urgency to it. But this is all about Apocalypse, but not the character Apocalypse. It's about a lot of characters, not all of them, but most of them that we're pulling together for this team have something to do with either apocalypses that have happened or that have almost happened, or just like characters that are intertwined with apocalypses. And I thought that was kind of a neat kind of starting point and impetus for like trying to pull a team together. So you have Bishop, who lived through an apocalypse and is trying to constantly prevent it. And I like all the stuff with him, like thinking that it's probably inevitable that eventually we will get to an apocalypse, but he's going to keep trying to stave it off as long as he can. And you have Old Man Logan, who survived one and wound up in this other universe. You have Angel, who obviously is connected to Apocalypse, and so I like kind of comparing all those characters with what they have to do with apocalypses. And then when you get to the end of it, you have this idea of a looming apocalypse that nobody knows about because of secrets. And I'm very intrigued by this notion of secrets and apocalypse and how those two things go together, which I don't immediately know what we're talking about, but it's very intriguing and kind of gets my mind going. I think the art in this is gorgeous. This is what's his name? This is Jin Chung, and it's real pencil-y. The coloring over it is great. There's so much purple because we're dealing with Psylocke all throughout this. But this reads like real classic X-Men to me, and it's really nice to have a book like this right now. While I've not been really caring about X-Men books and with Inhumans mixed in so much with it, I realize that that's not all we've been doing lately, but it kind of bummed me out and got me not interested in X-Men, so I haven't been reading a lot of that lately. But what intrigued me about this book, besides just the lineup, it's cool to see Rogue again, because we were doing some cool things with her in Uncanny X-Men, and I kind of missed her. And we've got interesting. I'm looking at this cover, and we haven't even introduced Mystique yet, but she's on this cover, so that's interesting. I like Phantom X and the few things I've read him in, and he's very funny here. He kind of plays as the comic relief character, and he has no business being here, which is my favorite thing about him. He's just following Gambit around because Gambit owes him money, so he's like, until Gambit pays me what he owes me, I'm going on these adventures with you, and I guess I'll help you save the world until I get paid, and I love that.
We should introduce a segment on this show.
Yeah.
And call it, how many of your books actually have covers that are relevant to the story?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just go down covers where you're like, what? Why is this? Now, what gets complicated, of course, is like B covers and things, because sometimes it's understandable why when you get variants and things, but like the main regular A cover, if it's not connected at all to the book, I cry foul every time.
Yeah, I know. It always cracks me up when like I always marvel at that a little bit, where I'm like, oh my word, a cover that actually has something to do with what's in the issue. What?
One of the things that also really intrigued me about this book is that Soule was not assigned to this. He pitched a story and there was nowhere else to put it, so they gave him 12 issues and called it Astonishing X-Men. And I thought that was really cool of Marvel, where there was a story he really wanted to tell, and they're like, yeah, sure, and gave him a maxi series for it. It'll be interesting if it takes off. To see if somehow or rather they try to elongate it, to extend it, but it might just end up being the 12 that they've said. But I could kind of see it possibly going on longer. There's a big cliffhanger ending that is a real kind of like game changer potentially. Man, maybe I wasn't surprised by this because I heard Dan and some other people say like it's maybe a big game changer, and then I saw it, I was like, yeah, sure, that's what they did. But I want to be excited about it, so we'll see where it ends up going. Without giving anything away, I guess the reason I'm not that surprised is because I'm like, well, yeah, look at your watch. It's about time for that to come back. So anyway, all in all, though, I especially on a second read, I really enjoyed this, and I'm just glad I'm reading an X-Men book again. That's very exciting. I always wanted to be reading something X-Men, and I was kind of sad when X-Men '92 got canceled or ended or however that happened.
But that was the one that I thought, hey, maybe that'll be interesting, and I should read that because I want to get into X-Men. Like, what I really want is I want a Beast ongoing. I would read a Beast ongoing because he is my favorite X-Men.
Speaking of Beast, he shows up in this, and he's not part of the main team, I don't think, but he's going to be here for at least a minute, or maybe he will end up being, but I don't know why he's not on the cover if that's the case. Anyway, because it's Astonishing X-Men, we felt the need to give him the old Whedon cat face design again, which was really jarring because I haven't seen that in so long.
Yeah, it was weird seeing him show up in Secret Empire, and he's like balding, and I'm like, this is strange.
I will go ahead and telegraph right now that I'm not mentioning Secret Empire any place on my list this week, but I wanted to mention real quick, if I can, Ian, something that just drove me absolutely insane about that, if I might, because it cracked me up, and it's not. Just zero of that. I read issue 7. I was suddenly enjoying
the Miles Morales scene.
Yeah. So I was enjoying that a little bit more than I have been, and obviously we both picked issues of that for our worst for last month. Okay, here's something you can't do with reading the future or prophecy or whatever it is. Like questioning destiny things. You can't, as an explanation, have a character trying to break into a computer and put in a passcode and then get through someplace. And the explanation for how he's able to, on the first try, type something out and get through it be, well, I know it's my destiny to get to the Capitol building. So anything I type in will work.
Yeah, Manos was there during my live show for that.
I can't have
he had the perfect explanation of what that was. That was Bill and Ted logic.
Yeah, that's great. That's great, Manos. And then not to give anything away, but and then what ends up happening on the steps, that becomes a real problem. Like, no, if you're if you're destined to do this, and that's why you're able to get out of the van, and then you don't do that thing, then you shouldn't have been able to get out of the van. Yeah, because it means that time can be changed now that the timeline can be changed now that you found out about it, and the fact that you know about it is the thing that makes it so that time changed. So how you get to that building could be an entirely different way than it was last time. You could be there on a different day than you were last time. We can't assume just because Captain America is on the steps then that's the time it would happen, that we've changed things.
Yeah.
Anyway, I wanted to go
35. Yes, I'm on cam.
Okay. I wanted to go on a rant for that. For a second.
Me too. Like I honestly chose not to pick Secret Empire because I'm so tired of discussing how bad that book is. So I actively chose something else's worst book this week.
That's what I did too.
Yeah. Like it has to reach a new level of bad for me to pick it again because I'm just tired of it.
Well, and we're almost done with it, I think. So that's good. Actually, I don't know how many issues that is because we're up to 7. Is it 9? Is it more than 9? They like to screw with us with the number counts. I think it was 9, and then they announced that
there was going to be like an aftermath book. And I'm just like, oh my god, let it die.
Ever since Fear Itself, we cannot help ourselves with that. Have you noticed this? Like, we almost always add an issue or 5 to the ends of these big events now.
Yep.
Sometimes it'll even start with a certain number count where it's like 1 of 7 or whatever, and then that will change later. That always cracks me up. Where you'll get to like issue 5 and it's like now 5 of more than it said the first time. Mm-hmm. Anyway, Ian, what is your favorite book now for the last week of the month, the 26th of July?
I keep always praising this book up and down, and this week though is more by default because I didn't have anything else good that week. This week I had 4 Secret Empire books that came out, and I had to read them all. And that
my condolences, sir.
Yeah, So like this was the only good thing, like really good thing I had that week. So it's Black Hammer number 11. We continue to get more stuff about the character Barb Alien. The way that he's been writing this is like we'll get a little bit of flashback material to when they were in the real world and being superheroes. And then that will inform the current timeline story in interesting ways. And so you have the character Barb Alien, who's basically like, he's got Martian Manhunter's origin, all things considered, does the shape changing, that whole thing. But he's gay and he's working as a police officer in this kind of like 50s-esque city. And people are very unaccepting of that. So like he comes into his locker room and, you know, it's got the other F word scribbled on, like graffitied on his locker. And so he decides to leave the police force because of that. And that kind of informs the way he's interacting with this guy in this town that they're trapped in that he was trying to form a relationship with. And that kind of blew up in his face. And so it's just a lot of levels of frustration. Golden Gale is contemplating suicide, which is about the saddest thing ever. The mystery continues to deepen in this issue. Things are getting really creepy and topsy-turvy. Something that's more of a modern invention is reused panels in comic books, because you know now we can copy and paste, whereas that was like you could trace, but that was almost as much work anyway back in the day. So you couldn't really reuse a panel the same way you can now. And a lot of the times, like, it's lazy in modern comic books. This issue used it in a way that I thought was really interesting and helped to inform the story, where we have this character investigating the town, the history, and she's talking about it just doesn't feel quite right. And she's just like sitting out in public observing people, and like this old couple walk by and the lady's eating an ice cream cone. They look like directly at her. And then a page or so later, you get the exact same panel. So they're just like stuck in kind of that Matrix thing of just walking around doing the same thing over and over and over again. So it's just
no, that's the word. That's the pits.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just like this inherent creepiness and weirdness is being told. And there's some just some really interesting parallels between the characters Barb Alien and Golden Gale. And so it's really interesting to see how they're interacting and how they are the two that are having the hardest time being here in this town, and they feel the most imprisoned, the most trapped. And you know, that's just inherently interesting, and I'm enjoying this book like crazy is all it comes down to. It's really well told comic book story that has a legitimate love for comics and is able to do social commentary and stuff without losing the humanity of the characters, which I really like.
Yeah, somebody said he won an Eisner for that. I didn't know that.
He deserves it. It's a really great
awesome
series. Dave Stewart's also, or no, is it Dean Ornstrom? Yeah, it's Dean Ornstrom's been doing the art throughout. And you know, it's just really great. It's like that Watchmen thing with Moore and Gibbons, to just see the same artist, same writer every week or every month on a book. You know, it's not something we get as much as we used to, and so that really helps, and it makes it so it's not distracting when you're just reading it, and it feels like you're being thrown right back into the world again.
I think that's one of the things that really entices people, a lot of people these days that maybe didn't used to read creator own stuff, because a lot of creator owned, of course, is like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it helps to have those two like consistently teamed up.
Mm-hmm. Or just a writer artist, you know, all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite issue for that week, hands down, was Go-Go Power Rangers #1. And initially, and my MVP for a franchise in comics last month was Power Rangers. I thought both of these were wonderful. And my only issue with Power Rangers last month was these two books are both too much about the same things, and it would have been really nice if we'd staggered them out a little bit. This is going back to the day after Day of the Dumpster, the day after the pilot, and fleshing these characters out in the middle of Origin, which immediately sounds boring. And when I heard about this, I was like, okay, I freaking love Dan Mora, who is the artist for Klaus, and I get to see Mora on Power Rangers. That's nuts. So I was excited about that. But premise-wise, I was like, why do we have to go back to Origin? Like, I would have boom initially to reinvent Power Rangers like Tom Waltz did with Ninja Turtles at IDW, and instead it's been like it's been sort of trying to flesh out things in the same universe but updating it simultaneously, which gets really awkward because everybody here has cell phones and there's present day references, but everything canonically happens the same way. It's just characters have a little bit more dimension and they're updated, and sometimes we have some actual real honest God storytelling, and it's not just about the visuals and the aesthetic. This is finally really driving home that concept, and is a really good proof of concept for that. And boy, I wish we just started with this because it reads a little bit more like a reimagining of it, even though that's not exactly what it is. So what we do with this is, like I said, it's like the day after Day of the Dumpster, and it opens with just the Power Rangers sitting on top of the Megazord, basking in the craziness of their new lives now. And this is all about their trying to figure out how they're going to balance their personal lives now, being high school kids, having to fight Rita Repulsa all the time. And right away, we make Jason a 5 times more interesting character than he ever has been, and then 17 issues of this book couldn't make him in the first 3 pages. And what we do with it is he's just working out at Ernie's Juice Bar like he always is in the show. They love that show and that aesthetic, and they never get away from it. It just looks like that show. And Ernie walks in at 6 in the morning while Jason's like pounding away at a bag, and he's like, you are like the most polite kid I've ever known. I can't figure out why you're so driven and disciplined and always punching and kicking. What is that about? And Jason tells a story about how when he was 10, there was this kid who at a camp broke this other kid's bow and arrow, this great bow and arrow, and he never got over it. And then he reveals that he was the kid that did that. And Jason is into martial arts and is so driven because he used to be a bully and he's trying not to be like that anymore. And that as an explanation as to why Jason in the show is never not working out is really cool. And that got me. I love that. So this answers the age-old Power Rangers question: how come they don't just get in the Megazord? Or actually, that's not how they do this, but how come the Power Rangers don't just immediately go up to the moon and trounce Rita Repulsa? Why don't they do that? Well, they try it here, and it's a really bad idea. And I love that the first thing they do is go up to the moon. And it's because Jason, as the leader, is too impulsive. And so there's actions and consequences. And he's like, well, we've got to go up there because Rita is pulled out of the dumpster by a couple of astronauts who are on the moon. And in this, she has kidnapped them. And the Power Rangers go up to, I forgot all about the astronauts, and they go up to try to rescue the astronauts. So they have a good reason for being up there, but Zordon's like, yeah, you're not ready for that. You guys really shouldn't go, but I'll let you if you really want to try that. And they're like, and everybody's like, well, if Jason thinks it's a good idea, and then it turns out to be a really bad idea.
It's okay if you want to go to the moon. I'll just get more expendable teenagers.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, well, and then there's this great. I love that you said that because Zordon is not out of character. He kind of just lets them do whatever they want. And there's this bit where Zach's like, I don't know why we should even necessarily trust this big head in a tube. I can't be the only person thinking it. And I'm like, where was that? Where is that in the new movie? Because I don't know why we just immediately trust the big head in the wall. But anyway, the last thing I want to mention about this, because like I said, the art is gorgeous, and they have so much fun with the absurdity of it. So, and I mean, you can really take it seriously while you're reading it, but obviously it's Power Rangers, it's really absurd. And there's this great bit where when they get to the moon, you see Rita's palace, and Mora just renders it exactly like it is in the show. So it still says Bandora's palace on it from the Sentai. And there's no reason it should say that. And they call no attention to it. It just says that. And there's like one line where Trini or someone is like, there's a big neon sign. And they don't even talk about what it says and why it makes no sense that it's there. And I love that kind of self-aware thing. I'm looking forward to, as this book continues, getting more depth for more of these characters. They all are coming alive to some degree, but Jason is immediately the most fully formed, which is fair because it's his story more than anybody else's. But like Trini right now, and I think they're just making fun of the show at the moment, because Trini's a prevailing character trait is I'm afraid of heights. And that's about all she had in the show. There's one episode where she's afraid of heights. And this issue, like 4 times, they bring up the heights thing. So, like, she's in the Megazord, and she's like, it's really high up here. And then when they're going to go to the moon, she's like, that's really high. And that's all she talks about.
Is the moon high, though? Because you're on a ground.
I know, that was my question. I thought that too. The thing that I'm excited about with this book moving forward too is that they're not going to stay in origin territory. This is just the first arc. This is kind of going to be a supplementary book, kind of like we have with Ninja Turtles Universe. And apparently, this book is just going to jump around time and be kind of like a between the raindrops. Let's give these characters some more dimension and do some interpersonal relationship stuff with them. And I don't know. I'm really excited about it. All of a sudden, this book that I didn't know if I even cared about, I think is better than the other book.
Nice.
Right off, anyway.
Nice. That's always good. I always wonder, like, it's good to hear, even though I'm not a Power Rangers fan, it's cool to hear that the people writing that clearly have at least watched the show and have some reverence for it. Because you always get worried that, like, the spin-off comic is just a cash grab, and like the writers have no idea what they're doing. They're just putting something out real quick because they're getting paid, that kind of thing. So it's good to hear that you got some, like, both writers and it sounds like artists attached to a book that actually really care about the original property.
Yeah, and I don't want to throw Higgins under the bus on the other book because he obviously loves that material also. It's just I have issues with where he decided to start the book, and that right away we went with a really, really long 16-issue messed up future plot. But he does definitely love the material and is trying to add something to it. I also have to mention that they give an explanation finally for why Rita knows the Power Rangers' secret identities, and because the villains always know, and it's their fault. I love that. Anyway, okay, so we move on now to our least favorite book from last month.
Oh, wait, we're not doing wrapping paper? Or is wrapping paper last? I always forget.
I always forget the order. We'll just do worst book now, and then we'll come back to that. So what was your least favorite book from last month, sir?
All right, by default it was Secret Empire, but again, I'm tired of talking about that book.
I had the same thing. Yep.
So in lieu of that, it is Venom number 152. It feels like this book took a weird turn. And
what happened?
Take that weird turn right at issue 150 as opposed to just going on to issue 8. And so, like, okay, I signed up for this book because the whole pitch was Costa was going to make Venom a villain again. Venom was going to be a bad guy. Venom was going to be dangerous and scary. And he was paired with a guy who was dangerous and scary and had a very unique relationship with the symbiote. And it added things about, you know, power dynamics and abusive relationships. And then I'm in this issue and I've got Venom fighting dinosaur people and Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur showing up. And if you like Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, good on you. But I didn't sign up for this. This is not the ride that I got on, guys. It's like I got on the Millennium Force and then suddenly I'm on the spinning teacups. I'm like, wait, what happened? Did I fall? Did I get on the wrong? Am I in the wrong line? What happened here? I mean, the only like good thing I can say about this is it's not like the story is bad. It's just such a tonal shift that bugs the crap out of me.
Yeah, and then I can't get excited about it. Like, I'm just waiting to get back to what it feels like an interlude.
Yeah, it like it's so weird that it's the same.
But it's not reading like we talked about this last time. It's not reading like an interlude. It's reading like this is the next thing that happens, and that's what's bugging me about it.
Yeah, it is so bizarre that this is the same team. You know, like what it feels like is Marvel freaked out about backlash from the original creative team, took them off of it, and put new people on, and that's not what happened. That book was getting really positive reviews. For the most part, from what I heard, there were a couple of people who were like, oh, some random guy can just exhibit control over the symbiote. That's stupid. I'm like, I don't care. It was interesting.
Yep, that's where I was.
This is just like, I mean, the only thing I'm enjoying about this is the art. There's some neat callbacks to like Venom powers that I don't.
I love the audacity of like Stegron the Dinosaur Man, but not in that book.
Yeah, like this would be a great. Like, I don't know, Spider-Man book or just anything else besides Venom.
Anything else. Yeah, or Venom. Or you know what? That story even would have worked better in Venom Space Knight. I mean, like, we've had other Venom books that are closer to that tone.
And yeah, I'm like, you know, I'm having a hard time not liking it because it's kind of aware of how kooky it is, where you've got this dinosaur cult leader turning a house cat into a dinosaur. That's fun, but I'm just like, this wasn't what I signed up for, guys. And like Devil Dinosaur and Moon Girl, it kind of makes me want to go pick that up because that sounds like a really fun book where a little black girl and a freaking Tyrannosaurus Rex share a brain. That's kind of cool. But
I think it'd be fine if Venom had a little stint in their book, but what's it doing there?
Yeah, it is so bizarre. The only thing that I think is like objectively still really great is the art. You know, these are dinosaur people, but they actually look like exactly halfway between a dinosaur and a human being. Whereas I feel like a lot of stuff like that will just do, okay, it's a person's body with a velociraptor head, and I'm like, don't do that. Or it's just a dinosaur that talks. Don't do that. This actually feels, you know, character design wise, like you're meeting them halfway, and that's cool.
Okay, but I like dinosaurs that talk. I
mean, sure.
Maybe not.
If
maybe
you're
that's
gonna make if you're just gonna make dinosaurs that talk, just make dinosaurs that talk. Don't tell me they're dinosaur human hybrids.
Okay, because you probably know this about me, Ian. I'm a sucker for covers of comics with someone writing on a T-Rex or a Velociraptor. Yeah. I tend to just buy them sight unseen.
Yeah, definitely, and
especially if there's dialogue.
Like, have you ever picked up any issues from Moon Girl, Devil Dinosaur?
I haven't. I should.
Like, yeah, that sounds like
I'm reading so much stuff
for you. Like
sort of. See, my whole thing is I'm weird because I love dinosaurs mixed in with other crazy things, but that book is like too jungly for me.
I don't know what.
So like, I'm not as excited about the premise. Well, just what I know about Devil Dinosaur from before. Like, I'm not a Savage Land guy. It's a real Savage Land kind of thing.
Gotcha. Well, like, I mean,
I don't get excited about like Kazar and that kind of stuff.
Well, it seems that it's like being set at least now in the modern day. So, like, if it's just a T-Rex walking around New York City, I'm down, man.
Well, see, I'm down for that. Yeah, if that's what it is. But if you spend all your time in Savage Land, that is by definition a land outside of time. So, like,
fair enough. I don't know. I'm just like, this is just such a tonally depressing thing.
but people in the comments are telling me I should read it, so yeah. I'll take a look. And Red Letter Until says that I want to be a human with a Velociraptor head, which I can't completely disagree with.
Yeah. If I ever do anything with like a talking Velociraptor, I'll get you to come in and do the voice for it.
Cool, thanks, man.
I just made your day.
Yeah,
write about this in your diary.
Yeah, no. I don't know if you know this about me. Any fiction I write, there has to be something about a velociraptor somewhere.
Oh, I know. I read it in your book. It was hilarious. Her pet velociraptor attacked the one shrink's patient or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it when somebody just has a pet velociraptor. And I wrote something when I was a kid with like a talking velociraptor with a British accent.
Yeah, that's what I put in my movie for you. The special features of my movie for you, because you threw that line out there. I was like, oh my god, that's hilarious. It's like I've got to make like we shot a whole scene just for you, Cap. It was beautiful.
Oh man, I haven't even looked at that part. I feel really bad about that.
Oh yeah.
I'll go do
you
that.
Still got the DVD somewhere?
I do. No, I know exactly where it is.
Yeah. Go to the special features menu.
Okay, I will do that. Are you finished talking about Venom?
Yeah, it's not good. I don't want it to continue.
It's not bad. It's just that we need to get back to what was great about that book.
Yeah, I'm gonna continue to read the rest of the arc, and if the next arc doesn't seem like it's getting away from this tone, I'm gonna pull the trigger on it and drop it.
Sadly, I collect everything Venom, so I will not be able to do that. But okay, so this was tough because there were a couple things I considered for my worst book last month for gift return that I went back and reread, and they weren't bad enough or irritating enough. I wanted to say Spider-Man 2. I really did. And I read it again, and I just don't dislike it enough. So I want to talk about this for a second, though. I just need an excuse to talk about this. Spider-Man 2 is very irritating in premise and should not exist. The ship and like banter and stuff between Miles Morales and Peter Parker is so much fun, and Bendis does a better job with it here, I think, than he did first time around. That it's too fun of a read to say it was the worst book I read last month. But Bendis has been, and if I have missed something somewhere, somebody please tell me in the comments, either live or if you're watching this after the fact. And I ask this all the time, and I've still never gotten an explanation for anyone that has read something that I did not read. Bendis has been playing the alternate dimension ultimate thing melding into the regular 616 universe as a mystery from the beginning. And now, all of a sudden, it's not a mystery. It's just, Miles Morales and I guess other people from the Ultimate Universe know they got folded in. That's not what was going on at the beginning of Jessica Jones when you had someone who was like losing his mind over memories he had from another dimension. Where did all that stuff go? And why aren't people really sad about all the people that no longer exist from the Ultimate Universe that didn't make it over with everybody else?
It's comic books, dude. The world almost ends every other day. You just get used to this crap.
And but have somebody talk about it, because
more importantly, it's also New York City. This is like, if anybody is going to be like, oh yeah, I'm just in another universe now, it's whatever. It's going to be people from New York.
Yeah, but you can't have your cake and eat it too, okay? Because there was somebody who lost his mind over it, and then no one else is talking about it, and that's a big problem. Because like the first issue of New Miles Morales Spider-Man, we just play it like they've always been in this universe and that their memories are altered. And Bendis acted like at some point he was going to come in and explain it. Now he's decided to do a sequel to Spider-Man, and because this is a sequel to Spider-Man, everybody has to remember what they remember from the first Spider-Man, which is we met for the first time from other dimensions, and B, there's this other Miles Morales. Who is he? That is no longer interesting. I don't care, because you folded over Ultimate into the regular 616. Who cares who that other Miles Morales was? You've blended the universe. There shouldn't be a second Miles Morales. There's not a second anybody else from there. Why are we going around trying to find the other gank? No one cares. We're not doing that. Confused and kind of disappointed by his decision to do a sequel to that book and kind of pretend like things have not been going the way they have been. But my real worst book from last month is going to be Biff to the Future #6, which I was absolutely adoring, and this did not stick the landing. This is the end of that miniseries. The concept here was let's flesh out the apocalyptic present day from Back to the Future 2, where Biff has kind of taken over Hill Valley, and show from start to finish what happens in that universe. And it was it was rougher than Back to the Future has ever allowed itself to be. That book is almost an all ages thing. And I read the first issue of Bit to the Future, and I was like, oh, this is the first of these I can't show to my kid, because it's Biff. He's murdering people. There's blood on the page. Sometimes it's kind of graphic, and I love that they went that far, and that they got Derek Friedolfs to do it because he's good at that kind of stuff. And this, I won't give it away if you haven't read this yet, but and if you care, if you're gonna get it in trade, but it ends on a high note. It's a happy ending. That's not okay, because it really deflates Back to the Future 2 if the alternate present that Biff created all turns out all right. I mean, yeah, there's a few people that die here and there, like Marty's dad, but like at the end of the day, Marty and the Doc kind of come together and just solve everything. Really?
Oh, so like they solve the team solves it in the alternate universe, huh?
In the alternate universe, they solve it. Yeah,
but that wouldn't even work because they wouldn't really have the same relationship they do in the main universe.
Well, to be fair, and they address that, and it works okay. It's just lame. Is the only word I can use. Doc Brown still has his memories, of course, from helping Marty in 1955. So you at least have one side of it. And so he's able to find Marty and team up with him again. And it kind of makes sense. There's also a prototype time machine that they use that's kind of fun, that I really like the usage of that in the last couple issues before this. But I don't know, there's, and this is the obvious place to go, but if you look at him in the face, and you look at like the kind of like natural implications of where you would go with Biff. Yes, Biff is kind of just Donald Trump without the money in the first place.
Oh yeah, the writer even came out to say that he was based on Trump.
in the first place?
Yeah. The writer of Back to the Future 2.
I didn't know that. So it ends up being really appropriate that they do that. And there are a couple panels where he just looks like spitting image. And they and so what Friedolfs does in this issue is he has Biff try to run for president. And I wanted to see all that play out. And the good guys win the day. Like this should have been a really, and this is where it was going. Like,
oh, uh-oh, what's going down? Hello? Is it me or is it you?
The perversity of it. And
Cap, I think you cut out for a bit there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was just saying that, like, it was because this is a world that doesn't count. You kind of have license to enjoy the perverseness of it, and we should get to bask in that. And that's what we're doing for 5 issues. And we're still telling a story. And it's not just, isn't it fun to watch Biff do horrible things to people? That's not what it is. But just to get to live in like this horrible, perverse, messed up world, and then it's a happy ending.
Yeah,
I really, really dislike that.
I can see both sides of it. With a lot of people being really depressed about the current climate of the world, I can see kind of wanting to do like a hopeful, optimistic message. But at the same time, it sounds like it's breaking the point of the story to do that.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
That's
and
kind of
this doesn't need to be about it's a satire in the first place, so it's already about that stuff, and like it doesn't need to be a change hearts and minds thing. Like it can speak to us in present day and still mostly the point of it being what would that have been like, because Friedolfs does a really good job of making it quite authentic, and then it feels real kind of slapped together at the end. I was so disappointed. I love this better than any other Back to the Future thing IDW has done, and some of that stuff has been a little bit lame. And
I feel this way about a lot of miniseries lately, where it's like it feels like they wanted more issues or something, and they just couldn't get it, and that's just a really weird thing. I'm like, where's the rule that says a miniseries has to be 5 or 6 issues? Like, I'll read an 8-issue mini or something like that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like I feel like so many things. Like I overall enjoyed the first Green Lantern Star Trek crossover, but like they don't finish setting stuff up until the end of the 3rd issue. They have to drop half of it by the end of the 4th issue, and I think it ends at the 5th issue. I'm like, what? It's so strange to do that. There seems to be a lot of rushing as far as miniseries go.
Yeah, and that's been a problem at IDW in general for a lot of years, and the thing that saved that company was that they got monthlies. because they used to only do miniseries, and you're absolutely right. I mean, that's what Star Trek was for the longest time with them. It was just
after miniseries. That's weird.
Yeah, with like, I mean, with everything. I mean, for the longest time, they just didn't have monthlies. It wasn't until they got the Turtle license and started doing that with Transformers and some other things that they finally started doing monthly comics. But yeah, they would have great ideas that couldn't possibly be fully realized in 2 issues. Yeah. And so you get an okay first issue and a really lame duck of a second issue. Let's go on now to wrapping paper. And Ian, what was your favorite cover from last month, sir?
Again, I'm picking up this book for this artist more than anything, and it's Aquaman. Aquaman number. All my books from DC were 26 this week. That's kind of funny, except for the Kate Kane one. But
so you're only buying double shipped books then? That's almost what he's doing.
That's the odd way it's worked out. But yeah, Aquaman number 26. Again, just on the novelty of this is a cover that actually has something to do with what's in the comic, because like this scene of Mira throwing the whole ocean at Atlantis is really cool, and it happens in the book.
That's
awesome. Really, really neat. Like
that's even better. It's in there.
Yeah, and it's really, really cool. And God, it's just gorgeous, man. It's so beautiful. I love this cover. And it's interesting because this artist has talked about how he considers himself more of a storyteller, and so he has a really hard time doing covers, and he doesn't know what to do with them because he doesn't know how to like summarize a whole story into like one moment a lot of the time. So doing covers is really hard for him. And I don't feel that coming off at all, because this perfectly epitomizes everything that happens in this issue basically revolves around or reacts to this moment. So that was just really, really cool that he was able to capture all that, even though that's something he considers that he has a lot of difficulty with.
Yeah,
he mainly does when he does work for DC or Marvel or other companies, when he's not doing creator-owned stuff, it's so that he can have a little bit of a break from his creator-owned stuff and have money to help, just get it all together and live on and stuff while he's doing that. And so it's just, I'm really impressed that he's able to put this much work, this much passion into something that he doesn't like actively have a voice for, because he considers himself a writer-artist, and he doesn't like doing just the art for a book. So I'm really impressed with the level of detail and commitment that he's putting into some of these issues, and I hope it gets his name out there and more people check out his other stuff, because this book's also gorgeous, but this cover says it all for me.
Yeah, the other option you have is otherwise unrelated Metaphor.
Yeah. And this is just, it's a good cover. Like I'm in love with the way he does water, because he does digital painting. He's trained as a traditional painter, and he uses those techniques in programs like Adobe Photoshop and stuff to create he creates custom brushes and stuff in his programs, and does digital painting, which is just really, really cool. So he's the artist and colorist for all his own books, because he doesn't do line art and then go back and color it. It's all done at the same time. He switches colors as he's creating it. It's really, really neat. You can even he has a YouTube channel. You can see him on occasion do live streams.
Oh, cool!
Creating art for different books he's working on and stuff, and that's always really awesome. So
we live in such a cool time that people can do stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely.
My favorite cover from last month, I won't have nearly as much to say about it because it's so I love about it. It's Ninja Turtles Universe number 12, and it's just look at Shredder. He's
nice and minimalist. I like it.
He's so sharp looking. Oh, I love that. This is the B cover for this book that month, and the Universe has been doing these, and I wish. Give me just 1 second.
Sure.
I've just got an issue with my computer. Sorry. I I would love to get the rest of these. This is the first of these I wound up getting, where like this one wound up in my pull box, so that's why I bought it. But the others didn't, and so I wasn't able to get my hands on them. And I forget what some of the other characters are that did this, but they're all like side profile like this with really minimalist, like 3 colors.
Yeah,
and,
that's great.
This is pretty clearly, I would imagine, kind of probably all done in a computer. But I think it's really pretty. I love this. So I'm going to go back and get all of these at some point. And we've had this conversation about like whether or not you'd go back and pay full price for a cover. But now that I have something you have already, now that I have this, I kind of wanted to get. Shredder, are you talking about things that don't have anything to do with the book? Shredder's not in this book because Shredder's dead right now, so he can't be in this book. But it's related to Shredder because it's a Karai issue. It's all about Karai, and she's you know, related to the Shredder. So
nice.
But yes, I love this cover. I think it's just gorgeous.
That's fun. All right, so let me go through here. Yes, 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 kinda. Yes. Okay, so the majority of my books have at least something to do with the cover and the story.
Hold on, I got to get into the stack, and I actually don't even have all my books sitting here, but of the ones I do have sitting.
Oh no, I'm just talking about for my week. For the books.
Oh, I thought you meant every book you bought last month.
No. That takes days. Then I'd have to like remember what each issue was about. I had a really big comic day today. I was reading through a fan-made manga that we're reviewing for Geeky Gentleman tomorrow. I read a Black Panther trade that I'll be reviewing on Comic Reviews this week, and then I reread all my books for tonight. I had a very comic booky day, Cap.
Well, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, so let's go ahead and go on now, I guess, to our final segment, which is the PS de Resistance. And what was your favorite book of your big four from last month, sir?
For multiple reasons, I would say it's definitely Wonder Woman number 36. It's a great jumping on point for people, and that's part of the reason that we're doing this like more recommend-y kind of format, talking about our favorite books. I encourage everybody in the chat to go pick this up and the following issue as well. Really great point to jump on because all Rucka did was get us back to a status quo, and this is just going from that status quo. It's not really continuity heavy at all. You know, Wonder Woman's friend is Etta Candy. There you go. Wonder Woman works with Steve Trevor and the government to help people around the world. That's like the most basic level of what you need to know going into a book. The art, it's great to see an artist that was working on Bombshells you know, go on to do another book for DC. She did a lot of great Bombshells Wonder Woman. It's cool to see her do now Rebirth Wonder Woman. And again, this is taking Wonder Woman to what I feel is a really interesting place. You know, people talk about DC like their characters are just gods and don't deal with, you know, human trouble. And that's something like I understand where that thought process comes from, but it's not something I often agree with. You know, Superman deals with very human things a lot of the times, but not in, you know, the most like, it's not like Spider-Man where he's making mistakes left and right. It's a different kind of thing. Batman deals with some of the most human moments I've ever read in a comic book, and it's really interesting, I feel, to show Wonder Woman dealing with just trying to do, you know, possibly too much, and that might be having an effect on her, and that's really sweet. It's really, really interesting place to take this kind of character.
Is she like the Vulture? Did she overextend herself? That's right. I've overextended myself.
Yeah, you could say that. I don't know, man. This is a pretty good issue. The only thing I didn't talk about is like with Ondaflo's art. You know, she's been doing the art on Bombshells for like 3 years. I think she may have gotten just a little too used to drawing female characters because there's this like old general who's like he's gray hair and a mustache. He's just got like a baby face. Just like looks very feminine, and I'm like, I don't think that's how that character
masculine faces. Yeah,
it's just like a very like I've heard artists talk about it where.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, that is those are not male cheekbones, man.
Yeah. I've heard artists talk about it where it's like to make a man when you're drawing a man as far as animation goes. The more lines on the face, the better it looks. But when you do that with a woman, it just makes them look old. And
right.
So, you know, I feel like she might just not. I don't know. It's weird because a lot of the male characters don't have that problem, but two of them just really. I'm like, wow, that's a weird looking character right there. Maybe it was a female general and they changed it at the last minute. I don't know. But yeah, I found that one odd. Otherwise, solid issue. I really enjoyed this. The follow-up issue, pretty good too. So.
Well, because I talked about it the longest, I'm going for Go-Go Power Rangers #1, and I'm not going to talk about this anymore because I already talked about this a whole lot. But I thought it was wonderful, and I kind of feel like even if you're not a big Power Rangers person, and you like teen drama stuff, this is pretty good. Maybe you might read, I don't know, a little not real contemporary, a little too safe, just because we got teenagers and they get along, and nobody writes that. But anyway, somebody also, for whatever reason, asked me to show this cover again. So here it is. Here's this cover again. And now, Ian, I believe it is time for cake. I think that is all that is left for us to do.
Yes, indeed.
What do you have, man?
I have a muffin. Haley made muffins today. I was like, oh, I want a muffin. I don't want cake. It's apple cinnamon, and it smells really
rebel.
Good.
It's not muffin time. It's cake time.
Well, you could have like a breakfast birthday party and serve muffins instead of cake. You could do that.
Okay, so mine has completely fallen apart. It must have gotten knocked over at some point and I didn't realize it because it's in pieces. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to show this.
You mean the house and with two young boys, something got knocked over? I'm shocked.
Yeah, that tends to happen. So yeah, I'm not going to be able to show this cupcake, but I got it. I got it from the same place I got cupcakes last time. It's from Gigi's Cupcakes, and it's what do you call it? Hot chocolate flavored. It's a hot chocolate flavored cupcake, which is kind of cool. But it's in this box, but I can't show it to you because it looks like mush right now. But I'll go get a fork and enjoy that cupcake. Anyway, everybody, thanks so much for watching. Sure appreciate it. I hope you had a good time with us, and we will be with you again in another month talking about August's comics. And in the meantime, I was Captain Logan.
And I was Sydpart2, and I'm going to take a bite of this muffin. Oh.
See, I'll eat this in a little bit. See you later, folks. Thanks for watching.